So I've been researching this topic and making a few videos here about where is the Garden of Eden. I just kind of was thinking about it because sometimes I get like I get impressions, like psychic impressions. Like I've been able to find my brother randomly in a store, or since when he was near, or I was talking to someone on the phone and he told me what her glasses look like, and I got an impression of what the glasses look like. And when I saw her, it was weird because it was exactly what they look like. It was the image I had in my mind. And another thing was, someone was playing this card game that was, I forget what it's called, but I had to guess what card she had, and I was getting everyone right because I just had an impression of what card it was. It was getting scary, so I intentionally started like saying a different card than the one I had the impression it was. So anyway, I kind of like am interested in places where there might be some supernatural activities because I want to see how I vibe there. Maybe go to a haunted house and see what kind of impressions I get there. But as yet, I haven't done that. But the Garden of Eden is interesting because it says there's supernatural creatures there. Well, it says cherubim. When I looked up the verse, it was not very conclusive about those being actual supernatural beings or something just appearing in the fire. Because at some point in the Bible, it does say cherubims are supernatural beings, but the word that we have from cherub from the ancient Hebrew is not, we didn't have a good reference or clear reference. It's kind of like the English that we have translated from that word is undefined. It's not very clear what cherubim in that context in the Genesis was. It's kind of, from other contexts, we kind of figure that it's four-legged creatures with wings. So I've been thinking about like that verse, what it says, and it also says that, well, it says that there's the flaming sword pointing in all directions, and I'm like, okay, where on earth could that be? Like, is there someplace buried under the ocean where the Garden of Eden was, and can we still today find that flame, the flaming sword? Would the angels still be there? So, just thinking about it, and like, maybe it's deep under the Pacific Ocean somewhere, or, you know, like, where could it possibly be that we can never find it? And then I just was thinking, like, for some reason, I don't know, like, well, what about the Northern Lights? I mean, I just kind of like thinking, so I looked up the Northern Lights, and where is it? Okay, so you get this image, and there's a ring of, you know, the energized particles coming in. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's what it looked like. And then I found another image, and it's here, and it looks like a fire, and it's pointing in all directions. And I'm like, well, that is amazing because that fits really well with a sword pointing in all directions. The only thing missing is the angels, or the cherubim. It doesn't say angel, this is cherubim. So I'm like, did more research on what cherubim is and on the polar lights themselves, and it turns out that people see or imagine things in here like it's a flaming fox that's running around on fire, which the cherubim is a four-legged creature with wings, so it could also look like a flaming fox running around here. So it kind of fits some of what people believe about this. So I've come to the conclusion that in fact the Northern Lights are the flaming sword surrounding the Garden of Eden to keep people out. But the Garden of Eden would be buried underwater by now. When the flood happened, like broke down a bunch of trees, the mudslides and everything else, and water coming from underground, because there was a lot of underground water at that point. There's like less water on the surface, more water around and under the surface of the earth. And we know this from a couple of things. There was a canopy over the earth, and it says the waters came from under the earth, and they watered the earth by coming up from underground. So that's what the book says. There's a lot of reasons why we believe the Bible is true, and if this Bible is true historically, then it should also be true scientifically. And God can manipulate science because he created it. So some of the miracles that happen are because God can rewrite the code because he wrote it. And he knows hacks. So my little cat people are messing with my tripod. Come on. Don't do that, little guy. So, people have believed that the location of Egypt was actually... I believe the location of Egypt was in the Middle East. So, and they're going and say, well, Moses said one river flowed in the garden, which afterwards would divide itself to 4 heads. And people think it's, you got like Fishon, Gihon, Hiddekel, and Euphrates. So people think that's in the Middle East, and they think the cradle of civilization, or they think Garden of Eden is also called heaven or paradise. And I would say that heaven is not just the place, heaven, a supernatural place, but a place of rest. Because heaven, sweet haven, a haven, and heaven, place to rest and park, like a boat would be a hafen or a haven. So heaven, paradise, and Eden. I mean, Eden itself has a purpose, and it's symbolic as well. So it's sort of symbolic of our great relationship that God created for us to have with him, and then we screwed it up and got kicked out. So, but people believe that the Garden of Eden or paradise was located in the Middle East. But the thing is missing is the flaming sword pointing in all directions. It never says that the angels that was gone. So my contention is it wasn't. So if, in fact, it isn't gone, and the north or the southern one, like, when I first looked up the polar lights, I kind of figured out there's some in the north, some in the east, so which one would it be? And then I Google searched, and I only came up with the northern lights. So I'm like, okay, that must not be southern polar lights. Because Google failed me. So, which I knew it should be anyway, because scientifically, North-South Pole, you know. So I was going off towards the northern ice caps in these countries up here, where it could be land masses. But there's also southern polar lights. And there are two bodies that are under ice, like there's Greenland, and there's Antarctica, and they're under ice. Sort of doesn't matter anyway if the Garden of Eden was located here and the Tree of Life was there, because when the flood happened, all of the trees, probably all the trees were either knocked down or buried. The trees that were knocked down and floated, the earth was covered with water long enough that they would have sunk. And where all the trees sunk and settled also with the dead bodies, is where we now have our coal layer. And the coal layer on Earth is all at the same level on the entire Earth. So that is a good sign, a good indication that there was, in fact, the flood of Noah, because of where coal is located. And we also have coal settled around trees that are growing straight up. So it couldn't have taken millions of years for like one tree to grow through millions of years of coal. So that just kind of blows the whole millions of years evolution theory out of the water, because a tree standing through millions and millions of years of sediment and coal just doesn't add up. It's not like there's one tree, there's multiple trees, and coal miners digging found this, and it's like, Well, that's interesting, and that's just one of many scientific evidence that evolution could not have happened. And people try to debunk this, saying like, I don't even. All the debunkings are just like, no, it isn't. It's not like scientifically saying why. This one guy said, I never mind, I'll get into it. That's not what this video is about right now. So we got in the south, Antarctica, and in the north, Greenland. It's the landmass that's in the middle here. So before the flood, the atmosphere was different. So the solar, well, the polar lights have always been there as long as we've had an atmosphere. Most likely, atmosphere magnetic sphere. But it may have been very so intense at one point that people couldn't pass through. It's very often called a fire. Sometimes it's called souls, depending on what legend you look at. But we're looking at the Bible because, well, this is for me as evidence the Bible is true. So, among other evidence. Okay, so we got Greenland and we got Antarctica. So, what more evidence do we need besides the flaming fire? Because we got a 50-50 chance it could be either one, right? So, we look at the map, and to me, Greenland is interesting because this side is the east, and it says Adam and Eve were put out to the east. And Greenland has got like a natural, if you take away all the ice, has like a natural valley and mountains surrounding it, so it already has like a natural perimeter. And there would have been like less water around it, so they would have been able to walk around. And if you go out this side, you go to like North Canada, and that is to the east direction that way. So this could have been the Garden of Eden here under the ice in Iceland. And there's also, if you look at another map, let's see, where is it? Well, here's like a lake would be under it, so that's like apparently sea level. But you got like possible rivers here. Most of these rivers are formed from the glacier ice melting, so these might not be that old. What we're looking for is a river with 4 heads, right? And here there's a bunch of them, so you could like just pick one. Like here's a river with 4 heads right here. But then we need to know where the gold is, right? Because one of them has gold at the end of it. Well, where's it? Well, here's some mines in Greenland. Here's a possible river that splits. This one actually is 4, and this one kind of also, but it's really difficult to tell because the new erosion from the ice melting makes it difficult to determine. So let's check out the other side with Antarctica. Antarctica also has rivers that come and break into multiple, like one river breaks into 4, but it's not like just, it's multiple, so it could be like, it could be several different places, so it's hard to say, you know. So, and it's all fairly current made rivers because the ice is melting and running off the sediment. But then you could also ask, okay, well, where would the gold be? Like this has got, like it's where islands, and you got like all kinds of water bodies here, and up here, this would be kind of a large river breaking off into other ones. So Antarctica has places that could fit the description in the Bible. But you have like, where's the gold? You have gold here at the end. But I think that one factor that we should consider is that after the flood, a lot of stuff that was less accessible. So maybe there is gold over here where the other river bodies are, but we know there's gold here. It doesn't really fit with the Bible saying the river over here and with 4 heads, because the gold would be over here. Let's take another picture here. I mean, here it sort of fits because you got like one body of water. That's more like a lake breaking into four heads. And then there's gold over here. The gold is supposed to be like at the end of the river here, so I mean, it could be. This would be, or it could be where it would be. But at the end of it, my results were kind of inconclusive as to which landmass might have been the Garden of Eden. I kind of favor. I mean, one reason that the South Pole, the Antarctica could be Eden is, well, it's largely inaccessible because of the ice. We don't go down there, so it's been like through nature protected from humans going down there and settling it and digging around and finding anything like the remains of the tree of life, which right now would be fossilized and would be impossible to eat from anyway. So, because it was buried under sediment with the rest of the earth and trees. At least we're in the lower points. So maybe if it was up on a mountain, that would have been harder to. And there are mountains here, so you know, I kind of think it would have been broken away and buried with the coal. But there's also on the southern of the earth, there's the Southern Cross, which people use to navigate. So if that is a sign from God that really the other end of the earth is more interesting than the northern, what we call north, and that could also be a sign from God that maybe down here would have been the Garden of Eden. But I kind of like Greenland. Seems like it would fit better for me to have been the Garden of Eden. And I also looked at the map. Like, it's somewhat inconclusive with the rivers and where the gold is. There's more gold down here, but that's just easier to access. There could also be gold up here that we haven't gotten to under the ice. So, and like, here are the mines for Greenland. And as far as rivers, like here's one that breaks into several. So, yeah, so what I found was somewhat inconclusive aside from the Northern Lights being the flaming sword pointing all directions and the shapes forming the cherubim in the Northern Lights. So, okay, this video took more time than I wanted. Sorry about that. But this is probably the best video I've made that's more just exploring the possibility of where Garden of Eden would be. And it fits better with the model of people believing it's in the Middle East, because the Middle East is not surrounded by a flaming sword pointing all directions.